What is up, everyone? It's Quinn here, and in today's video, I'm going to be going through my top 31 running back rankings for week 14 of the NFL season, likely the final week before the fantasy playoffs. So, hopefully, helping you guys get one more win before you make that push for the title. If you guys enjoyed the video, do me a huge favor, hit that like button and subscribe. But let's just dive right into tier one. These are the stud running backs, your high end RB1s, the guys that are locks in your lineup, really, regardless of matchup. So Jahmyr Gibbs, James Cook, Devon Achane, Jonathan Taylor, and Bijan Robinson. Then starting off tier two, I have Chase Brown going up against the Bills. And I could see people thinking Chase Brown should be in tier one, really turned his season around as of late, 15 plus PPR points in each of his last 5 games. On paper, a great matchup against the Bills, who are allowing the 4th most points per game to the running back position. My kind of hesitancy here with Chase Brown is just the usage now with Samaje Perine back, where when Samaje Perine was missing time, Chase Brown was pretty much taking like 100% of the opportunities, at least like 80 plus. With Samaje back, he is very much a factor in this backfield. In week 13, Chase Brown only had a 58% opportunity share. Now, his workload was still solid, but if you're going to have Samaje like vulturing near the goal line, working in on third downs, that's just not going to be great for Chase Brown, and it just is going to limit both his floor and his ceiling. After Chase Brown, we have Bucky Irving, and I'm super excited to have Bucky back here in this tier 2 area. Coming into the game, I was a little bit, up in the air on what his usage would look like. There were reports that the Bucs were going to go with a hot hand approach. That's not the ideal report you're hearing for someone who you drafted to be like a clear-cut RB1 in your lineup. But he came in, he got a big workload, 73% opportunity share, 17 carries for 61 yards and a touchdown, 2 receptions for 20 yards. I thought he looked good, produced for fantasy. And then game script wise, this is just a solid matchup against the Saints. The Bucs are 8.5-point favorites, so I think we could see Bucky log another solid game this week. Running back 8, I've got Josh Jacobs going up against the Bears. On the season, this is pretty much where he settled in. RB7 in points per game. Packers 5th in implied points. Solid favorites in this matchup. Not super scared of the Bears run defense here. Although as a Bears fan, am feeling pretty good about this team overall. After Jacobs, I've got another veteran here with Derrick Henry going up against the Steelers. With Lamar Jackson back, despite Lamar not playing at a super high level, not looking 100%, Derrick Henry has been very productive, 18 PPR points per game in those 4 games with Lamar back. Now moving into tier 3, starting off with Javonte Williams going up against the Lions. In his last 3 games, he has seen at least 20 opportunities. The usage is there. Actually had a decent receiving day in week 13, which was good to see on Thanksgiving. It is just a tough matchup here against the Lions. They're actually allowing the fewest points per game to the running back position. After Javonte, I've got Kyren Williams going up against the Cardinals. He has actually seen under 15 opportunities in his last 3 games. I do really like this matchup, though. Cardinals allowing the 9th most points per game to the running back position. The Rams have the 2nd highest implied point total, and they're 8.5-point favorites. So I think this is definitely a spot where even if he's getting, 13, 14, 15, 16 touches, I think he can make the most of them. I think he can also get into the end zone here and have a nice fantasy day. Then to close out my RB1s, I've got Breece Hall going up against the Dolphins. In Breece's last 5 games, he's averaging 18.1 points per game on 20 opportunities per game. The usage is there. They're pretty much running this offense through him, especially with Garrett Wilson out. Like, he's just the clear-cut number 1 weapon on this offense. I like him here as a fringe running back 1. Then I've got a rookie in RJ Harvey going up against the Raiders. He comes out in week 13, has a nice fantasy day, definitely more, touchdown dependent, but 13 carries for 35 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 receptions for 27 yards. I just like that the usage is there. I do think the efficiency will come potentially in this matchup against the Raiders. They're 7.5-point favorites, like them in this RB1 range. Then I've got another rookie with Quinshon Judkins going up against the Titans. He just continues to have very strong usage. Week 13, 23 carries, 3 targets. They're actually 3-point favorites in this matchup against the Titans, so not super worried about this game getting out of hand and like the game script kind of moving away from Quinshon Judkins. This is a really nice spot to play Judkins. Then I've got Saquon Barkley going up against the Chargers. He has actually scored under 14 PPR points in 6 of his last 7 games. The Eagles, I gotta think this is their lowest implied point total of the season. down at 21.75. So the vibes are pretty brutal, honestly, right now with Saquon. And then the last guy in tier 3, Ashton Genty, going up against the Broncos. All of a sudden, the receiving usage has been there. 8 targets in his last 3 games. Now, matchup-wise, this is pretty brutal. Broncos allowing the 3rd fewest points per game to the running back position. The Raiders have the 2nd lowest implied point total, and they're 7.5-point dogs. So the issue for Genty is that there have been certain games this season where the Raiders just get completely blown out, they get outclassed, and they're just not going to burn a ton of touches on Genty, in a game that's out of reach. I do think the potential is there for that in this matchup, but it's also possible he continues to get super involved as a pass catcher in a trailing game script. So why he's still in tier 3, but at the bottom of that tier. Now, moving into tier 4, I'm going to start it off with Aaron Jones going up against the Commanders, and he's been dealing with shoulder injuries throughout this season, seemingly re-aggravated it in the Week 13 game, but apparently it's not super serious. He is day-to-day. If he can play this week, I think this is a really good spot for Aaron Jones. The Commanders are allowing the 3rd most points per game to the running back position. Jordan Mason is going to have some opportunities, but Aaron Jones has been operating as the clear-cut running back 1. If he's healthy, I think that continues in this matchup against Washington. Then I've got Travis Etienne going up against the Colts. Really dud Week 13 in a spot that was a great matchup against the Titans. Plus matchup, favorable game script, just didn't lead to great production. I guess the good thing for Etienne is that Bashal Tutin didn't have a great day either, so it wasn't a performance where you're like, all right, Tutin needs more opportunities moving forward. Etienne had been really solid. Previous 4 games, 15-plus PPR points. I'm not panicking after one down game. Then I've got DeAndre Swift going up against the Packers, coming off just an amazing run game overall for this Bears offense. DeAndre Swift, 18 carries for 125 yards and a touchdown. I do think Swift is the better option this week over Monungai, and it's why I have Monungai a tier lower than Swift, just based on the potential game script here, where the Bears are 6.5-point underdogs. Although DeAndre Swift hasn't been super involved as a pass catcher recently, only 4 targets in his last 3 games, I do think he has more receiving upside, and in a trailing game script, I do think we could see that here against the Packers. Then I've got Jaylen Warren going up against the Ravens. This is kind of just where he is on the season, running back 20 in points per game. Unfortunately, he's likely not going to get the same receiving usage as Kenneth Gainwell, but he makes up for it with the goal line work. Took both of the goal line carries in Week 13, which is something we've seen pretty consistently. Running back 21, I've got Devin Neal going up against the Buccaneers. Didn't have an amazing fantasy day from like a point standpoint in Week 13, but the usage was 100% there. He had a 77% opportunity share, 14 carries, 3 targets. I do not expect Alvin Kamara to return this week. And then the Bucs are a good matchup. They're allowing the 8th most points per game to the running back position. And then the last guy in this tier, Kenneth Walker, going up against the Falcons. In his last 3 games, he's averaging 14.5 points per game. He's averaging 17 opportunities per game, which is a very, very strong workload. And he's getting involved as a pass catcher with 11 total targets. The touchdowns still kind of tough to come by, but the usage is there. If you're giving Kenneth Walker with like the talent, I think he has 17 touches a game or 17 opportunities, I think he is going to be a very viable play in your lineups. Kicking off tier 5, I've got the Chargers running backs. Tough to firmly rank these guys right now, but I've got Kamani Vidal and Amarian Hampton going up against the Eagles. I do think it's possible we see Hampton return this week from his ankle injury, but I also don't think he's going to step in and just be like the clear-cut workhorse. Kamani Vidal has been legitimately good for them, both from like a real-life and a fantasy perspective, and so I imagine they're going to want to ease Hampton back anyway. And so maybe if we're getting reports that Hampton's good to go and, he'll be the starter, then I will have Hampton ranked ahead of Vidal. Right now, I just have them back-to-back. Eagles' run defense had been pretty solid up until the Bears just, completely torched them. So we'll see what version of the Eagles we get this week. But right now, this is where I've got these Chargers running backs. After those guys, I've got Kareem Hunt going up against the Texans. Even with Isaiah Pacheco back, Kareem Hunt, very strong usage, 16 of the 21 running back opportunities. Think he remains the RB1 there moving forward. After Hunt, I've got Woody Marks going up against the Chiefs. And man, like the usage has been there for Woody Marks. He has just been super unproductive with those opportunities in his last 5 games. He's averaging 17.2 opportunities per game and only scoring 8.1 PPR points per game. That is pretty brutal. Also a tough matchup here against the Chiefs, who are bottom 6 in points per game allowed to the running back position. A couple more guys in this tier. Bam Knight going up against the Rams. Brutal matchup, but I don't expect Trey Benson to return this week. It seems like they've kind of botched his recovery and kind of opening his practice window, because he went from like limited on Wednesday to DNPs on Thursday and Friday, which is not a great sign. So I expect Bam Knight to continue to be the running back 1. In his last 3 games, he's put up 14.5, 13.2, 16.8 points. He took 14 of the 24 opportunities in the Week 13 game, and then also had a very solid receiving performance, which I think is good, likely in a trailing game script against the Rams. And then the last guy in this tier, honestly, this does feel low. It's Kyle Monangai. As a Bears fan, I'm a huge fan of this dude. He had a monster Week 13, 22 carries for 130 yards and a touchdown. He has scored touchdowns in the last 4 games. I kind of mentioned it with Swift. The reason why I'm a little bit lower on Monangai this week, it is a tough matchup against the Packers, first off. It was a tough matchup last week, but that didn't hurt these Bears running backs. But it's also just like he doesn't catch passes. He's been super touchdown dependent. Do I think the Bears are going to go in there and just rush for like 250 plus yards against the Packers? I don't think that's super likely. So I think the usage is going to be there. He's going to have some touchdown upside. I just have a tough time putting him ahead of guys like, Kareem Hunt, Woody Marks, who might not have super high ceilings, but I do trust that they're going to be the running back 1s, even a guy like Bam Knight. So those are my thoughts on Monangai. I will say, like, if the Bears go out there and just torch the Packers on the ground, back-to-back, really tough matchups, and they produce in both of them, then I'm just going to have to give both of these dudes a ton of respect and vault them up my rankings for the fantasy playoffs. Now, moving into my 6th and final tier, I'm starting off with Zach Charbonnet going up against the Falcons. He's not going to be, super efficient, ultra productive, but the usage is fine. He scored 5 touchdowns in his last 6 games. A viable, like, mid-tier running back 3. Then I've got Chris Rodriguez going up against the Vikings. He looks like the Commanders running back 1. Last 2 games, 16 and 12 opportunities. It's not a super high upside role, right? Like, he's not going to catch a ton of passes. You're still going to have 2 other running backs with McNichols and Krosky Merritt involved. But I guess the hope is like Jaden Daniels returns this week, although he hasn't been cleared yet, and, at least gives this offense some sort of ceiling. And then the last guy in these rankings, my running back 31, David Montgomery, going up against the Cowboys. Montgomery has not been good. Under 13 PPR points in his last 7 games, but the Lions are projected to put up points. They have the 3rd highest implied point total, and Montgomery will get some type of usage. Typically, I'm doing like top 35, top 36 running back rankings. I just think this week with like the 4 teams on bye, once you're getting past Montgomery, like you're looking at a lot of handcuff running backs or just gross plays. Like you're looking at an RB2 Blake Corum. Are you playing like a Titans running back with like Pollard? Are you playing Jordan Mason? If Aaron Jones is healthy, I don't know. It's just a lot of, darts at that point. So went top 31 this week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe. Thank you all for stopping by, and I'll see you in the next one.